Hello and welcome, my dear modelers, to my small hobby YouTube channel. My name is Tomo, and today we're going to be taking a look at some classic cars. In this video, as you have seen from the thumbnail, we are going to be taking a look at HELLER's classic cars. For this video, I've chosen 5 classic cars from HELLER that I think will be very interesting to see and to build. For those of you who do not know, HELLER is a French company. Vive la France. And just like Revel, they are a jack of all trades. They build ships, cars, planes, boats, tanks, you name it, they do it. When it comes to HELLER, in the grand scheme of things, my personal opinion is that they're much like Revel. Like, they're okay, but they're not great. They have some very good models, but then they have lots of not so good models. Thankfully, a lot of them are sort of mediocre-ish models with lots of detail, but also some problems with fit issues, and also, you know, Flash, king of the universe. Yeah. All the models that you are going to see today are in 1/24 scale, except for one. This one. All these models are pretty reasonably priced, and they contain some very moderately good detail, and would be recommended to a beginner, intermediate, and advanced. Like usual, I will leave timestamps of the various videos in the video description of this video. There's a lot of videos. But if you would like to binge watch the whole thing, go right ahead, I made it for you. Anyway, without me going on too much, let us jump into the boxes and see what's what. And the first model of the day is Renault TAXI Type AG. It is a 1/24 scale model number 30705. It costs €25, and you can see the dimensions and the amount of pieces on the side. The boxes are very bright yellow. They are in your face with nice box art, but they're a little flimsy, and certainly sometimes they can get squished during delivery, so just be aware when you are ordering them. This particular model is a rebranded model from ICM. It was released in 2019 first, and HELLER kind of released this one this year in their new box, of course. Parts inside are okay, but not great. As you can see some sim lines on the part that you need to clean very thoroughly before inserting it into position. Also, the attachment points for the pieces in the sprues are a little bit short for my liking, but there we go. Other than that, I think that fit issues shouldn't be a problem, since this is a 2019 release and ICM tends to make pretty good models. So here's hoping that this one goes together as well. The model itself comes in 108 pieces with various degrees of detail on all the parts. There are, of course, like I mentioned, some flashy bits that you need to take care of, but nothing so dramatic that would kind of deter you from building it. Certainly, if you do like this type of vehicle and this type of era, you will have a good time, I guarantee. The only shame about the model itself is that it doesn't have a driver, which is depicted on the box art, and that's basically my only big complaint so far about this particular model kit. If you have built this one yourself, please do let the others in the community know what you think about it. Because this is a car, you also get some clear parts. What a shocker. And because this is an ICM kit, essentially, these are fabulous. Rubber wheels are a little bit so-so. I mean, yes, you have some threads, but the attachment points, no, that's not good. This is not the way you make tires. The decal sheet of paper is pretty small, and that's because there's really not a lot of markings on this particular car. And they're okay, but they're not great. But they're far better than the other decals that you see in this video, so just be prepared, I warned you. This is a 23-page full-color A4 type manual, and once you get through the don't drink the paint and eat the parts bit, you are greeted with the instructions, which are fairly reasonably laid out in big squares or smaller squares, and it's not overly complicated to look at. And it does guide you fairly easily through the build process, which I think is very important, especially if you are a beginner and trying to follow these instructions to the letter. Once you are more advanced, you kind of skip ahead a little bit, you know, just look at pages in front to see how you're going to assemble it, how you're going to paint it and all that. And I think that it guides you through well enough that you don't get too bogged down on a particular page and just wonder what the hell am I doing. So yeah. Here we come to the next one, which is Jaguar Type E 3L8HCF in 1/24 scale, model number 80709. This is an oldie but goldie. It was first released in 1978, yes, and then through those years it's been reboxed, some new decals were added, then reboxed and reboxed again until we actually come to the version that you see today. Because it is an older model, it shows on the body and it has certain beauty marks that you need to take care of. Seam lines that were, should be taken care of in today's models are here. You can see you have to sand down and do some cosmetic changes just to make it smooth and perfect. Also, I don't really particularly like that the door handles are part of the body, but in the 70s, I guess that was the way to go because, technology. All in all, this 85-piece model did stand the test of time pretty reasonably well. You can't expect it to be super duper fantastic, and it does take some TLC to kind of bring it up to shine, but it is what it is, and it's still a Jag. And who doesn't love a Jag? Who doesn't love a Jag? Who doesn't love a Jag? Anyway, all the parts do reflect that, and these parts right here are the more detailed parts, the black ones, which represent the engine, the guts of the car, the chassis, and it is rudimentary. As you can see, there is not a lot of detail on the engine, but the battery is good and the radiator is great. These handles are good, and look at these pedals, pretty good. But one thing that I really like are the seats. When you get really close and inspect the detail, it's basically just like leather, so that is really good. Maybe it's by design, maybe it's by accident, but it's really good, so I approve. The one odd thing about this model is that the doors are basically in clear parts, which is kind of crazy, but I guess it works. I don't know. And they're clear, you can see. Tires are rudimentary, again, some thread. But the attachment point, no. Here come the bling bling parts. These are pretty substantial. We have some rims, we have the exhaust pipes. This chrome on the plastic does kind of feel a little bit chunky, so the end result is that it kind of feels like a toy. So my recommendation is, if you are going to build it, maybe strip it down and respray it yourself if you have the skills. But other than that, we'll just use it as it is. Oh, the decals, yeah, they're old, and they're not really great, so at least make your own license plates from a piece of cardboard. The Jag's manual is revamped. It's A4 glossy paper, it's colored, and it is swirly and twirly. It kind of reads like a comic book with all those squares and brackets, but it does feel a little bit condensed and confused, especially with all these little wiggly lines, which kind of makes your eye go each and every way, like ooh, swirly, and then twirly, where you're just kind of looking at what, where, wow. So you gotta get used to it and just take it slow. But once you get through the more complicated bits, it kind of cools down a little bit. And here we go to the Renault 4 TL/GTL. This is probably the more popular cars in the store. We've sold a ton of them, and for good reason. These cars were everywhere when I was growing up, and they were affectionately called Katrca. Renault 4 Quattro, I don't know, maybe. Anyway, this is a model number 80759. It costs 24 euros, and it has 124 pieces. It was first released in 2015, and it's a pretty decent model. Actually, it's really good. It has very nice surface detail, but it does come at a cost, and that is, of course, the attachment points, and certain parts are, well, not made very well. And if you're gonna try to make it as spiffy as possible, you will have to take a long time to clean the surfaces of certain parts, because there is residue left over from the mold, and that is a bit of a shame. But for 24 euros, I'm not complaining that much because, you know, it's 24 euros. It's a beautiful car for that money. The closest car that you can get that is basically a lot better made is Ebros, but that's way above 50 euros. So if you want to spend that kind of money for precision and beauty, I guess, then yeah, that's probably the car for you. But if you're on a budget and you want to build a good car and rough it up and make it weathered, well, then this one is pretty good. The model can be displayed with all 4 doors open and closed. You have 2 types of back door, and you can also display the front bonnet open and closed because you do have an engine. Rather a rudimentary engine, but you do have an engine, so that's really good. Tires are, again, very rudimentary, not really great to be honest, but you know, it is what it is. We have some clear parts where the doors are actually in clear parts. I don't really know why HELLER would choose to do this. It's a little bit strange, but again, I guess it works. For this unboxing video, I chose to display these clear parts in the original bag because I didn't want to put fingers all over it, and these are pretty fragile and they break off easily, so I didn't want to destroy the sprue. Because you can replicate 4 types of vehicles, you have 4 types of decals on a big decal sheet of paper. The quality itself, as you can see, is not that great, to be honest. I mean, for 2015 model, I would think that they would probably find a new printer. So yeah, just you be the judge. It's okay, but it's not great. So, you know, compared to other manufacturers at the same period, these are pretty mediocre. The instruction manual is an A4 type, 23-page, semi-colored manual. I say semi because the instructions themselves are not really colored that much, but you know, at the end when you see the color scheme, then yeah, you have colors, of course. Right off the bat, you have to make a choice which type of Renault 4 you're going to build. Is it TL or GTL? Because there are certain trim differences, and you can see that in the first pages. So just be aware. And also you have to kind of make a decision whether or not to display the car with the doors open or closed. And I think you can actually maneuver the front wheels to be left or right, but I don't think they're movable. They're just fixed in a certain position. So that's a kind of decision you have to make before you actually start building it. Once you do that, it's pretty straightforward. It's a little bit compact and condensed on certain pages, but once you get used to it, I guess it's okay. At the very end, of course, you have paint schemes for the various types of vehicles. If you're going to be painting civilian versions, it doesn't really matter how you paint it as long as it's, you know, a color. But for these ones, yeah, they're specific because they're, you know, police and fire department. And I think the second one or the fourth one is roadworks. So yeah. Our second to last model on review today is the Mercedes 500k Special Roadster, model number 80710, price 30 euros. It's a 124 scale model with 122 pieces, and it's reboxed. It's been reboxed for a long time because this is actually a very old model. It is a 1979 release. Yes, just like our friend the Jaguar, it's pretty old and it shows. But what it does strike you when you see it is that the body of the car is pretty big and it's in 2 parts. It's really wide, so it did kind of shock me when I saw the mold. Maybe on the camera it doesn't look this way, but it does feel very wide at the back. So, you know, like usual with parts made from the 70s, the detail is okay for that era, but it's not stupendously great for today's standards. But, you know, with a little imagination, a little patience, and a lot of cleaning, you can make this model come alive once again. Yes, the attachment points are very close, and certain parts are a little bit wonky and probably doesn't fit very well. But again, we are scale modelers, we are up to the challenge, and yeah. This car really has a lot of bling bling parts, from the chrome wheels to the doors, headlights, bumpers, you name it, there's a lot of chrome. Unless you're really pedantic, I really wouldn't remove chrome on these particular pieces because look at this, it's so shiny. Hello, hello. Although chrome is a welcome addition on any car, certain pieces are questionable why they made them in chrome, such as these engine covers and inserts for the doors. Why would you put them in chrome? That is just crazy. So, you know, back in the day they were smoking some stuff when they were making this, I guess. So the only part that I didn't take out of the bags are the clear parts because they get scratched easily and they're pretty fragile, but you can see the detail through the bags and no problems at all. These are pretty good. Tires a little bit beefy. They have threads, but again, the process of making them is not that great. Decals, well, you can see they're pretty offset, aren't they? I mean, look at that. The dashboard is like a little to the left or to the right, depending on which side you're looking at, but they're not that good. And here we go, a 19-page A4 glossy type manual. Colored manual actually, and it's pretty good. It's reasonably laid out, it's not very cluttered, it has colored parts where you can see actually how they're supposed to look when they're painted, so you don't have to kind of look to the front of the manual to see which paint you have to use. There's not many of those squiggly lines to confuse you where parts are supposed to go, and in general it's a pretty clean manual, pretty clean build, and not that substantial, so you don't get bogged down too much. Since this is a car, you can basically paint it however you like, but they do recommend red. The last model on review is this cute Citroën DS 19 in 1/43 scale. Yes, 1/43 scale. It's really a very small car with only 26 pieces. So a very easy to build model from, I would say, late 70s, early 80s, judging by the, plastic and the amount of work you need to do to make it a little bit better. I don't really know exactly when this model was first released, so if anybody knows, leave the comment down in the section below. But yeah, it's a very simple model with nice detail and character. If I had to sum up the model, I would say this is a very fun weekend build, and you don't have to go too overboard with detail. Although you will need a chrome pen because you don't have any chrome parts, because this car does have some chrome elements. So that will be the only minor complaint, I guess, for the model. But you can, just color it in or use silver color to make it metallic. It's certainly not a big deal, especially because this is really just for fun. A while ago, Ebro did make DS19s in 1/24 scale, and you can check out the video in the cards up above if you're interested, but sadly they don't make those anymore, so I hope that they return with this car because it's really nostalgic and beautiful car. And the instruction sheets here, well, I mean, it's just a fold out piece of paper with instructions. It's simple. I mean, you can see it. Couple of steps on the first page, and just a couple of steps on the back, and basically you're done. That's all she wrote. Thank you so very much for watching. If you have been, thank you for liking, commenting, sharing, and subscribing, and I'll see you soon in the next one. Bye bye.